Hey guys, today's lesson is the second part of compare contrast essays. We're going to be looking at some samples. One of them is a complete essay, the second one is taken out of a specific essay. Okay, but before we start with the samples, I want you to look at the picture on this slide, okay, where you can see a very small essay written by a young student. Okay, you can go back to it, look at it, okay, maybe read it and enjoy it. He's comparing his two teachers. Now, to start with, um, we're going to be looking at some words and phrases that are used in compare contrast essay. Okay, the words at your left are words that signal comparison, which are used to introduce similar ideas or similarities in between two items. And the words to your right are used to signal contrast, which is to introduce differences. I'm going to read the two columns. Please read with me. Words that signal comparison or similarities, such as, also, like, alike, likewise, resembles, similar, just as, just like, equally, same book. Some words that signal contrast or differences are however, although, whereas, in contrast, yet, differs from, instead, unlike, on the contrary, different from, and on the other hand. In the following part, we are going to look at pattern point A, which is point by point comparison and contrast. Okay, in this very small paragraph, because this is taken from a bigger essay, okay, we're going to study or to compare and contrast the cost of maintenance of two different cars, the Roadrunner and the Speed Demon. Okay, let's read the very small paragraph and I'll explain each part of it as we read. The Roadrunner and the Speed Demon differ in cost of maintenance. If you look at this sentence, this is typically, okay, the topic sentence. So from this first sentence in the paragraph, I can tell that we are going to talk about the cost of maintenance. I have deliberately moved it, okay, here because I want you to notice that this is a very important sentence. You have to have a topic sentence in your essays because it introduces your idea or the idea of the first paragraph of your paragraph. Excuse me. The Roadrunner is rather expensive to maintain, so this is also important because from this very specific sentence, okay, we know that it is expensive to maintain a Roadrunner. This car gets poor mileage with 23 miles per gallon on the highway and 18 miles per gallon in the city. Moreover, it requires the more expensive premium gasoline. In addition, the Roadrunner needs a tune-up every 4 months and an oil change every 90 days. The average driver who owns a Roadrunner must pay approximately $1,400 a year to keep this car running. Now, the author now moves to the Speed Demon, okay, and he uses on the other hand. On the other hand, here introduces a difference. If you take some time to go back to the first part, here we have moreover and in addition. These do not introduce any differences or any similarities. These introduce two new ideas or two different examples. Okay? So paragraph, I'm gonna continue. The Speed Demon, on the other hand, is quite economical. It gets an impressive 38 miles per gallon on the highway and 34 in the city. And unlike the Roadrunner, the Speed Demon takes the less costly regular gasoline. So unlike here, okay, it introduces a difference, a contrast. In addition, whereas the Roadrunner requires tune-ups and oil changes, the Speed Demon requires little maintenance, whereas here introduces an opposite idea, a contrast. It needs to be tuned up only every 12 months. The oil needs to be changed only every 4 months. In summary, instead of paying $1,400 per year, To keep the car running, the owner of a speed demon spends only $600, which is significantly less. So if you notice how the ideas are divided here, okay, um, I have taken the liberty to actually divide this paragraph into a smaller outline. If you look at this outline, this is an outline for the paragraph itself. It's not the outline of the essay. This is an outline for this paragraph. The Roadrunner and the Speed Demon differ in cost of maintenance. This is the topic sentence that the author uses. And then he divides his paragraph into two parts. The first part is talking about the Roadrunner and how expensive it is to be maintained, from mileage to tune-ups to oil changes, all the way to the average cost of maintenance. Okay? And then he moves on to the Speed Demon, which is economical to maintain. Okay? And he again talks about the mileage, the tune-ups, the oil changes, and the average cost of maintenance. So he discusses the same points for both cars. Now, we're going to look at a much longer essay, a complete essay. Okay, it's about a boy who goes back to his old neighborhood and he is comparing and contrasting. So you'll find a bit of memories in the beginning, and then you'll understand where he starts comparing and contrasting um, the old neighborhood and the new one. Okay, please focus with me. I'm going to be reading this. Um, I'll stop and explain, of course. If you have any questions afterwards, you are free to ask me. And take some, take your copybook and take some notes, maybe some vocab words that you're interested in, or maybe a form of a sentence, okay? Some ideas, because you will use them for next week's essay, okay? Let's start. My old neighborhood. Several years ago, I returned to Washington, D.C. and visited one of my old neighborhoods. I had not been on Nash Street for more than 20 years, and as I walked along the street, my mind was flooded by waves of nostalgia. Nostalgia is remembering the old days, your memories. I saw the old apartment building where I had lived and the playground where I had played. As I viewed these once familiar surroundings, images of myself as a child there came to mind. However, what I saw and what I remembered were not the same. See, this sentence, what I saw and what I remembered were not the same. It introduces the idea of the essay. He is going to tell us how his neighborhood had changed. I sadly realized that the best memories are those left undisturbed. As I remember my old apartment building, it was bright and alive. When I was a child, the apartment building was more than just a place to live. It was a medieval castle, a pirate's den, a space station, or whatever my young mind could imagine. So here he's explaining how or why he used to think that it was alive. The apartment building was alive, okay? He gives it life. So, because they could transform this place into medieval castles, pirates' den, space station, okay, or whatever they can imagine to play. I would steal away with my friends and play in the basement. This was always exciting because it was so cool and dark and there were so many things there to hide among. Our favorite place to play was the coal bin. We could always use it as our rocket ship because it could be used as an escape hatch out of the basement into outer space. All of my memories were not confined to the apartment building, however. I have memories of many adventures outside the building also. My mother restricted how far we could go from the apartment building, but this placed no restrictions on our exploring instinct. There was a small branch in back of the building where my friends and I would play. We enjoyed it there because honeysuckles grew there. We would go there to lie in the shade and suck the sweet-smelling honeysuckles. Our biggest thrill in the branch was the day the police caught an alligator there. I did not see the alligator, and I was not there when they caught it, but just the thought of an alligator in the branch was exciting. So up until here, he's been giving us information about his old apartment building, how it was like living there, what activities he enjoyed, and how fun it was. Now he is going to start contrasting what he had lived and what it has become. Unlike the apartment building I remembered, this one was now run down and in disrepair. What was once more than a place to live looked hardly worth living in. The court was dirty and broken up, and the windows of the building were all broken out. The once clean walls were covered with graffiti and other stains. There were no medieval knights or pirates running around the place now, nor spacemen. Instead, there were a few tough-looking adolescents who looked much older than their ages. So, this is the first part. He started contrasting the ideas. What it was like before was given in the first paragraph, and now the second one is the opposite. It's the difference. As for the area where I used to play, it was hardly recognizable. The plants was polluted, and the honeysuckles had died. Not only were they dead, but they had been trampled to the ground. The branch itself was filled with old bicycles, broken bottles, and garbage. Now, instead of finding something as romantic as an alligator, one would expect to find only rats. The once sweet-smelling area now smelled horrible. The stench of my idyllic haven was heart-wrenching. Okay, so these two paragraphs, he contrasted everything he had talked about before. And then he ends, I do not regret having seen my old neighborhood. However, I do not think my innocent childhood memories can ever be the same. I suppose it is true when they say you can never go home again. So, if we go back to the slide, okay, he started by giving in the first paragraph, okay, some information, background information, attention grabber if you want, and then he talked about the old neighborhood in paragraph 2 and 3, okay, what activities they did, how sweet smelling it was, how clean it was, some of the memories they had, and then he talks about what happened to that place in paragraph 4 and 5, okay, and how bad it has become, okay, and then he ends up that you can never go home again because yes, places do change, okay, but memories will remain there forever. Now, this is the end of our presentation. Please watch it carefully again. If you have any questions, ask me. Do not hesitate to text me whenever you want. And stay indoor and stay safe.